Well, if you're like me, you always have a pile of batteries to be charged. I usually run 2 to 4S packs, and I kind of keep them in here, and then I pick through based on when I want to fly the size of the battery I want. And the charger I've been using mostly for my charging has been this ToolkitRC H4, which is a dual automatic charger, which you have the balance plugs on the side for 2, 3, and 4S, an XT60 connector, which I'm adapting down to XT30 for most of my batteries. And what you can do is when you turn it on, which is nice, it's AC powered, turn it on, it has two sides. It's got channel 1 and then over here channel 2, and you can just switch between the two sides just by the switch button. And then you have one side set. You got the 4 cells, you got the state of the charge, and it has a counter of what the current voltage is total and what the milliamp hours that you have put in. So all you have to do is just hit start. So there's really nothing that you adjust at all. You hit start and it'll do up to 2 amps on independently on each side. So this particular pack is starting off at 1.7, and then given time this will keep trickling down and end up with a full charge. Automatically shuts off. It's a great little unit. The problem is on this particular one, when I switch to the other side here, I can no longer get it to charge. So I think something's wrong on this side. I decided I needed to have something that allows me to do these same things, but I want to have some control over the charge rate over here, because 1.7 is a little bit high for, this is an 850 pack, so that's like twice the charge rate that I normally should use. I should use like a 850.85 amp setting to have the best chance of having these batteries work for a long time. Yes, it'll take longer to charge, but it'll be done at a little bit more comfortable rate for the LiPo. So let me show you what I bought as my new charger. So what I decided to get was a 4-channel unit from Toolkit RC. It's called the Q4 AC Smart Charger. Now just be aware there was a version of this called the M4Q that came out a couple years ago that looks identical. It actually comes in a black case, and there was a lot of problems with it initially, and a lot of them were returned. They released the design as the Q4 AC. Now some of the pluses of this is that you can charge it off of a big DC pack, so if you're out in the field and you have a big LiPo, you can just plug that in the back. You'll actually be able to get more amps to the batteries using the DC option. The AC plug-in is what you would use for home use, and that's primarily what I'm going to use, but one of the big pluses was 4 channels. You can charge each channel up to 5 amps instead of the 2 amps I had on the prior unit, and it's only set up for 1 to 4S, which is what my needs are here. So this is what it looks like. You plug in your 4 different packs here. These are XT60s, and then you have your balance lead. It's just a single port for each of them, versus the other one I had a separate balance port for the 2, 3, and 4S. Here you have to share it. You can also, there's a version of this you can buy direct from China that has XT30s instead of the 60s. So if you're going to do XT30s, in my case I have to use an adapter. On the back you have the DC power plug-in here. You have a USB connector to make firmware updates, a fan, and here's your AC plug-in. The one thing that I'm a little discouraged by it, I liked having a switch on here for the AC, but that's not what this one comes with, so that's just something I'll have to deal with separately. Let me show you it powered up. Alright, here it is. I got it powered up. I got one of my 3S packs plugged in, and you'll see when you come up to the main menu here, it shows the 4 different ports and a reading of what you have for the voltage at each level, how many milliamp hours have been going in and out. You've got channels 1, 2, 3, and 4. So as you hit the channel button over here, you'll see that the indicator light up. So that kind of tells you which one you're going to be dealing with when you're making modifications. You want to make modifications, you hit this toggle button here, and here you have your choice. You just go to the right, and you can see it kind of toggles through the different menus like you kind of have on your transmitter. Here under the battery type, you can click that. You get your choice of a lot of different battery types. The default is a LiPo. Under cells, you can have it automatically sense it based on your sense input, but you can also select it. The mode, you can have either charge, discharge, or storage charge. The default is charge. You can set the end voltage quite a ways down, 4.05 to 4 1/4. The default for a LiPo is 4.2. And then the charge current, you can adjust that all the way down to 100 milliamp rate, all the way up to an attempted 5 amp rate. Now again, it may not give you those higher ones based on whether you're using AC or DC input, and I think the default is 2 amps. So obviously there's a lot of flexibility here. So I'm going to hit the start on this one, and we'll see what happens. So as it's charging, you're seeing where it's focusing, it's charging as it's bringing up the cells. You've got the rate that it's charging at, 2 amp setting, how many milliamp hours have been put in, and how much time has been elapsed. So when this finishes up, you'll be able to have a lot of information on how long it took, how many milliamp hours you put back into the pack, and the end voltage reading. So this is as much as you really probably want to see overall. So you also have internally, you've got the fan temperature, or when the fan kicks on and off, as you can kind of watch this go up and down. This is pretty important when you're discharging, because a lot of that heat from discharging is going to be going through a discharge circuit inside of the unit. So that's why the fan's going to be most active, is probably during the discharge cycle. And let's let it run here. We'll see how things go. One thing you'll notice as it's charging here is this is the input power that's going, that's basically the power supply from the AC side currently, that's supplying voltage to the 4 ports. So it's designed to operate at about 18.2 volts. It's currently putting out 1.2 amps from that internal power supply. It's used 2.3 watt hours, and it's currently operating at 23 watts, which is basically 18.2 times 1.2. Now obviously if you're going to do all 4 ports, it would get up to near that 100 watt AC rating that the unit has. And you can see as we're going on here, and it's been about 6.5 minutes, we're up to 31 degrees C inside. So it is generating a little bit of power during the charging process, which is what you'd expect. Alright, you can tell it's getting near the end of the charging, and it's still charging up at the almost 2 amp rate, which is a little quite different than I had on my other one. So, and it only took 20 minutes to charge this pack up, which I'd be taking longer on the other one than I had. So I'm going to keep it running here and see how it behaves as it's finishing up. This is an 850 pack. So far I have 642 milliamp hours put back into it, which is pretty close to normal. You don't really drain them all the way down to the 850 level. You stop your flying when you get down to about that 3.5, 3.4 volt per cell level. Okay, it just gave me a beep and we got the done signal, and the final current rate it was at when it finished up was 0.36. Put 725 milliamp hours into the pack. What's interesting is it looks like the fast charge is done, except it's still having the charge rate at 320 milliamps, and the milliamp hour rating is continuing to go up. Obviously the one cell here is not going up to the 4.2. I've had this pack for more than a year, so I might have 1 week cell there, but the charger at least is continuing trying to keep it topped off without shutting off the charge completely. I'm going to let it go here to see if there's something that changes down the road. Okay, I just got a channel 1 complete beep at 32 minutes. I'm going to hit OK, and now channel 1 is on standby, and it claimed it put in 754 milliamp hours into the pack, and we've got them all up to about 14.19 each, so that looks pretty good. So I just noticed here, if I toggle this wheel, you'll get the resistance level per cell readout next to the voltage level, so that's pretty handy. Okay, now I'm going to do a discharge cycle. And we'll see how that goes. Alright, I'm at about 11 minutes in on this slow discharge here, and the internal fan just came on. You can see the internal temperature is 42.2 degrees centigrade. So as we're continuing down here, I'm going to see if that fan increases its noise level, meaning it's increasing its RPM, or if it's going to stay at this level. Alright, I just noticed that the fan went off, so it started at 42C is when the fan came on, and when it dropped back down to 40, the fan went off. Now, I just read in the manual that it actually has comes on at half speed at 42 and goes on at full speed fan at 50C. So I'm only doing a discharge on one side, so I'm sure if I loaded up this for both either charging or discharging, you're going to be drawing or creating a lot more heat inside of the unit, and so having that fan flexible like that is kind of nice. Alright, while this is running, I decided to connect up a larger pack to channel 4 here and put it on discharge. Again, I set it at a 2 amp discharge rate, but you can tell that there's something in the logic that won't let it discharge at that high a rate on this particular kind of pack, so it's set at 0.61. But I'm also noticing that the temperature inside, and it's been running for a couple minutes, it's really not cranking up a whole lot more, so maybe this low or first level fan speed is plenty good for even doing a couple packs anyway at the same time as far as discharging goes. But obviously at the 420 milliamp discharge rate, you can see I've been running about a half an hour, and I've got you know, maybe a third of the pack discharged, so it's going to take an hour and a half to safely discharge this down at that rate. And this looks to be the highest rate that it's allowing a 3S pack to be discharged. This is a 2S pack, and it's discharging at a 4.6 or 600 milliamp rate. Okay, I now put on a 4S 650 pack, and I put on channel 2 here for charging with the max of 5 amps, and you can see it's able to do 3 amps or so, and you can see our temperature is going up here as we're charging it. It's not, you know, that's a pretty high rate to have on that pack, so I just was going to do it temporarily to see if you have it set up for 5 amps max charging, what would it really do. And it looks like in this example here we're doing about 3.1 amps. I think I can, since I'm on channel 2, I can hit the charge button and change the charge current in real time, let's say down to 2 amps. Exit. Okay, so now it's got channel 2 down to 2 amp rate. So you can do change the charge rate on the fly while everything else is still running, which is pretty cool. Alright, I just added a 4S pack to channel 3 here, charging at 2 amps, and mainly trying to get the temperature driven up here to see what the fan sounds like once it hits 52. But it's doing a good job discharging on channels 1 and 4, kind of maintaining the rate. And we're charging at 2 amps on channels 2 and 3 to some 4S packs. So we'll let her run. So just something I noticed, I have a brand new pack I put on channel 2 here, and we're charged all the way up to 4.2 at 2 amps, and now it's trickling on back down. I did read in the manual you can it'll go in charging, and then it'll say fast charge done, and then you can have the option in one of the settings to have it go into trickle charge or to shut off totally. And it's kind of interesting how it's still maintaining a charge, dropping it slowly down from the 2 amps while they're all maxed out at 4.2 volts. So it's must have some algorithm that's just not, you know, it knows that it can still take a little bit more without increasing the voltage, but not necessarily just shutting it off right away. So I think that's probably a good thing. Alright, it just beeped that we got the fast charge done. And according to manual, if you don't remove the battery right away, it'll continue to do this trickle charge for a period of time. You know, I'm thinking several minutes, and then it will do charging stopped. But that's what happened when I had this one go all the way up, but I didn't keep track of exactly how much time it stays in that trickle mode. Now you can have that feature shut off in the settings menu. You can also see our temperature is not getting up to even 50 in this arrangement. Alright, since this channel 2 finished charging, I thought I'd throw it on discharge, and I set it up for a 2 amp discharge rate, mainly to drive this temperature up. Alright, there you go. The fan just went to the high speed. I don't know if you heard that. Right when it hit 50 degrees C. So their manual says, yep, it does say 50 degrees C in the manual. So that is a little bit louder. It's not terribly louder like some of them I've heard. But that was triggered by me hitting that discharge there. But the point I wanted to make is I got this one discharging at 0.4, this one 0.6, this one 0.3. So they may have a maximum rate that they allow the discharge circuit in here to go, and it could be driven by a temperature limitation within the unit. But these are all safe levels to do the discharge. It's just going to take more time than you might normally want. Alright, I shut off the discharge on channel 2. Temperature's coming down. We're going to see what temperature the fan quits and goes back to the lower speed setting. There you go. You probably heard it. It was at 48C. So about a 2 degrees hysteresis in the low speed to high speed setting. That's this thing is working great. Alright, I've got everything on standby other than my discharge on channel 1. Temperature dropped down to 40 and the fan went off. Alright, this discharge cycle's almost done here. We got down to the 3.2. It's still taking a look. There we go. We just finished. Channel 1 complete. So we ended up at 3.23 and 811 milliamp hours on a 850 pack, which is several years old. What I could do now, I probably won't film it, but I'm going to recharge this one and see how many milliamp hours gets put back in. I'm going to charge it up at the normal 1 rate, which is should be 800 milliamps. And I think let me just see how I can do it here. So I put it on channel 1. Let me zoom out a little bit here. Channel 1. Mode. Charge. Charge current. Let's just do 0.8. Start. There we go. There's the 0.8 rate, and I'm going to see how many milliamp hours gets put back in from a dead discharge. Alright, there we go. I got the just got a channel 1 complete. So we ended up with 844 milliamp hours going into an 850 pack, which is pretty amazing that it still has that amount of life left in it. And it took a little over an hour. So this is a great little device. I mean, it's not only good just for your basic charging, discharging, but you can really keep track of the health of the battery using the discharge and recharge function. And so I don't know, I'm pretty impressed by it. I haven't used it more than just for doing the filming here, but I'm hopeful it's going to be a good solid unit for all the kind of 2S to 4S work that I got here. Alright, have a good day. Leave any comments that you want if you have some information on this. Talk to you later.